Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm an intuitive coach and mentor,
And I'm Luisa. I'm an awakening coach and energy healer.
and we're your spiritual besties.
We're just everyday women having an extraordinary human experience.
You see, we've both been led down the path of amazing discoveries through the power of spirituality.
So, we're here to share our experiences as we dive deep into all things sacred.
Our hope is that we can contribute to the collective conversation to help you feel less alone and more confident as you walk the path to becoming more connected with the universe.
We'd love for you to join us each week as we share our discoveries and navigate this journey together.
Somebody said something to me one time. This is not a healthcare system. This is a health crisis management system.
Yeah.
That's what we have in this country. When you're in a crisis, then go seek help. That's the only time that perhaps is going to be the most effective because we have all the tools and all the resources. I think we need to stop looking, and even the term healthcare, I'm like, I don't know if this is healthcare.
Right.
You know?
It's sick care.
Yes.
Yeah. It 100% is sick care. And I've felt that way for a long time. And I think too, there's this misconception that alternative care going this different route is actually more expensive, right? Because we are all like, oh, well, we have health insurance and I just pay my premiums and then I only have to pay X amount to go to the doctor. Well, let me just tell you, we have health insurance and we pay a monthly premium, but my daughter needs a medication that is incredibly expensive. It's $14,000 for one injection of this medication. So after all the insurance, after getting like copay support and everything from the manufacturer, we just got a bill for $3,800 that we are responsible for paying out of pocket, even though we have health insurance and going this traditional route is the cheaper route by popular opinion,
Yeah.
but that is not cheap. If you add together all the other expenses that are just, the standard expenses of healthcare and family healthcare and all of that, adding on top of it an extra $3,800 for a medication that she needs is not cheaper. And so while it may cost a little bit more to go and seek this other type of support in this area, it's possible that the treatments and the path that you take from there could actually be less expensive overall for you.
I agree. It's like, how much does it, not only financially, but other costs to prevent a surgery in the future that might limit your mobility and, to prevent the side effects from this med that are then going to cause you to need a colonoscopy, which are then going to increase your risk. This other medication increase your risk of cancer and it's not that alternative systems don't have any risks, but there's definitely a different risk benefit ratio typically with doing alternative stuff instead of starting with higher force medications, I find. Yeah.
Yeah, and the quality of life in the meanwhile too, because so a lot of
Exactly.
medicines, they have side effects and you have to deal with those side effects on a day-to-day life.
Yeah.
For me, when I started recently to take some of the natural things that I take now, the herbal medicines, the side effects to one of them is that I have much more energy. And it's like in the meanwhile, the quality of life that I'm getting, as opposed to going to a traditional medicine doctor who would have probably prescribed something with at least one negative side effect, whether it's tiredness, I see that one a lot. It's like you're gonna have fatigue, and I'm like, I can barely function already.
We're
Like,
all already tired.
you know? So I think that the quality of life, I think it's also important to take into account when we think about the cost, because what is the actual cost? If the quality of life that you're living in the meanwhile is a crappy one, then how much are you actually paying aside from just financially? What's it actually costing you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's so important to know all your options and have things to choose. And I also just like to always reiterate to everyone who I work with that blending all types of medicine is actually one of the best approaches. We're talking about all the side effects and medications, they do have all these side effects, they can increase your risk of things. And at the same time, if someone has an autoimmune condition, then being on a biologic is so much better than having to take steroids and getting lifelong permanent damage. So I think there's a lot of alternative practitioners out there that are very much against medications in general and against anything that's not quote natural. And I do think I have a little bit different view in that area just because I want what works best for the person. It's all about like what you were saying, Melissa, with the individualized. It's like for this other person, maybe just herbs works great. Maybe this other person actually does better with antibiotics than herbs. And maybe this person in the middle needs some of both. I think it's so great that we have this Western medicine with the new research. And if I get hit by a car, I can get saved in the hospital. But it's so frustrating that that is the dominant system, that that's the only thing insurance covers, that that's what people consider to be the default, is this system that doesn't take into account your own intuition about your body. And it would work so well if it was part of a bigger system. It doesn't need to be replaced or obliterated. It just needs to be incorporated differently, I think.
You're so right. Yeah, the answer is not getting rid of one thing or another, right? It is really just having all of the options available and having that ability to have a practitioner who will figure out what is best for you ultimately at the end of the day. Because yeah, you're right. There are some things where it's like, no, you actually just really need this medication for it. That is, you know, a prescription medication that you need to get from the pharmacy. And this is kind of the only thing that's really going to help you in this situation. But yeah, I mean, I think right now we're just really way too far in one end of it. So it is more of that balance and kind of coming back to where there are other options and other alternatives that might work out better for you.
I want to learn more about what you do, Melissa. I think what I know about what Luisa does, I think that's considered kind of tangential to health, but I feel like that is still health. You know, if you can figure out your soul path and if you can figure out what your strengths are and what you're meant to be doing. I can't tell you like how many people have depression and anxiety, and I've experienced some level of those myself. And I do think a lot of it comes back to, do you have a strong purpose? Do you have a community? And are you happy on a soul level? So if you're happy on a soul level, energetically, that's going to project out through your mental, emotional body and your physical body, and even into the people around you. And I remember when I visited Thailand, it was a really neat philosophy because there, most people were like, I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to do what I can. I can't control anyone else but myself. And if I make myself the best I can be, then that will positively impact other people. They weren't trying to regulate what other people were doing or judging other people. And I really feel like if we all were paying attention to our soul path and really feeding and nourishing our soul, I feel like the world would be such a better place.
100%.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that the greatest gift that you can give to the people around you, you know, family members, friends, is to heal yourself.
Yes.
To become the most healed version of you possible and the most authentic and real version. So what I do is actually, it's funny because you mentioned purpose and alignment and things like that. So that's what I do. I work with women who are essentially probably the three of us, right? At some point in our lives where we kind of had followed a very traditional path and had done sort of all these things in our lives that we felt like we were accomplishing the stuff that the world told us we needed to accomplish. And then at some point, these women feel like, oh, well, I still feel kind of unfulfilled, kind of empty, like stuck in this life. This doesn't feel right for me. And I help them to actually get unstuck and start finding what they really want in life, finding that purpose, creating that fulfillment and that joy, and really being able to look inward and follow what's within themselves versus all of these external achievements that they've probably been going for and accomplishing throughout their
That was
lives.
me. Hi, Faye. Could have used you, Melissa.
I gotta use myself. Like, that's why I'm here, because I will say it. I mean, I've said it over and over. Like 5 years ago, I was just like a mess and just in this place of, I mean, almost at the point of like despair of what did I do wrong? I did everything right. And finally realizing that it was because of everything that I had been taught. Everything I had learned throughout my life wasn't me. I never learned how to actually find me. Like underneath it all, who am I? What actually brings me joy? What lights me up? I have no clue. And so it was this whole journey of trying to uncover that and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing here, because I felt like this can't be it. There has to be some reason, some purpose that I was put here on this earth, right? And I found it. It's this.
Yay.
And so I'm incredibly passionate about it because I've seen both sides. And now I've seen this side where my life is aligned. I'm being authentic. I'm truly living my purpose. And it's amazing. It is truly an amazing life. And I want to help other women have that experience too. Sorry, I'm like really passionate about it. I'm like, ah.
We feel it. I love it. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful because it's life-changing, right? It's absolutely life-changing. I was trying to record some videos the other day and I was just trying to remember like my life before, and literally from the moment I sat up in my bed every morning, it was like, why? Like, why another day? And that was a reality for a long time. Versus I get up now and I like want to jump out of bed for a completely different reason. Like so excited about life, so excited about simple things like brushing my daughter's hair, like drinking my coffee, something that is so mundane and like we do every single day. There's so much more meaning to life. Everything is, and I wanted to say joyful, but that's not true. But I can feel everything more deeply. I can be much more present in the moment. I can enjoy whatever it is and understand that life is not happening to me, right? It's like happening for me. So when the difficult moments come, because they do come, they like to show up all the time. I am in a different place in my life where I can appreciate them for what it is and understand that I'm learning something from it. There is something that I'm meant to learn from it. And I think that's why we're so passionate about it, right? It's because living life this way versus waking up and asking why every morning, ugh, like just thinking about it is like draining my energy. So much more gratitude and just so much more beautiful. Like I'm staring at my grass right now. And I like it excites me. Like I'm happy. I'm excited. I look at the grass, how tall it is, and things that I would have never even noticed before or cared for or stopped to take a breath and like even realize was there. It's so present in my day to day.
Absolutely true. And I think we've had so many conversations with different sorts of experts in different areas where regardless of what your sort of specialty is or the outcomes that you're helping people get to, I think it's all related. We're all sort of doing the same thing in helping people get more in touch with themselves. And at the end of the day, that is how you live your best life. That is how you get to experience all of these things that we've talked about, is just getting in touch with yourself and who you truly are beyond anything on the outside, whatever facade you've got going on there. I think that all of us are attacking it in different ways. It's all at the end of the day kind of the same thing, and we're all helping people in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question, Rachel. What are some common, maybe spiritual or soul level blocks that you find hinder people's physical healing?
Ooh, good question. This one isn't necessarily, I feel like this one overlaps on a lot of levels, but definitely has a spiritual level. But lack of self-love,
Mm.
that translates into a lot of things. You know, another one would be I work with people a lot to have better energetic boundaries. And I think even just like putting your mind to the focus and the purpose of trying to build these boundaries energetically, I feel like that really helps carry over to like mental boundaries and emotional boundaries and day-to-day communication boundaries. So I feel like it's all kind of manifesting its way through all the levels, but boundaries and the self-love are big ones. And then there's some other really weird ones. There's other things where Sometimes this isn't as often, but like past lives do come up. Could be blocking if someone's still embodying that energy, and that energy from that lifetime is carrying forward some part of the disease process in this lifetime. And then sometimes too, there's ancestral things. So I've seen this a couple times where, especially in women, where there's an ancestral duty that's been assumed for good intentions usually, but ends up being for the wrong reasons, of almost like a suffering martyrdom. I think a lot of it is just because of the position women have been given in society, glorifying the whole selfless act of moms. And so a lot of times, clearing that ancestral influence, like, can really help move some of the heaviness in that area. There's so many. Those are the first ones that came to mind.
In a lot of the soul readings that I've done for women, that comes up a lot, quite a lot from past lives. I would probably have to go back and see if there wasn't a woman that came up for.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is, it's
common.
just, it's history.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the reality of our history.
Yeah.
And so that makes so much sense. But the self-love thing, I'm the biggest proponent of like self-love and worthiness and understanding your self-worth as this very, very foundational piece for really anything in your life. If you want to do anything, if you want to create any kind of change, whether it be with your health, whether it be with your career, or just the trajectory of your life, changing that really, really starts with that self-love. I mean, so many people truly hate parts of themselves because of whatever thing is that they dislike about themselves. They truly will hate themselves and hate that about them. And what you resist persists, right? We've all heard that. And so it's like this self-acceptance, self-love, and just really loving yourself no matter what, that I think is a foundational step in any of it.
I think a lot of people who are living with chronic illness, whether this came first or whether it's a product of having to live with such a burdensome situation every day, and having that situation like you described, Lisa, where you just don't even want to, you're just dragging through the day, like you're going through mud, like what's the point? And I think a lot of people deep down start to question if they're even worthy of living a symptom-free life, and are they worthy of health, and do they deserve health and all the good things that will come with it. And I think it's shocking because even people like myself who feel like I have self-confidence, I feel like I have self-love, I think that underneath there was still a time when I probably questioned if I was deserving on a subconscious level. And so I think people don't realize these things are happening because they're not consciously happening in the forefront of our minds, they're subconscious. And so much of our subconscious governs our actions and our beliefs and our health and everything about our lives. So I agree. Yeah.
I believe our subconscious is that's what directs everything in our lives, because it directs the thoughts that we have on a day-to-day basis, and
Yeah.
thoughts are what create our results. So I think that change is all about uncovering all those subconscious beliefs that you have, and then creating new ones, creating this new framework from which you can then sort of act and move from this point forward. It's all subconscious. And I think that's the part where it's one of the most challenging pieces, is actually the awareness, getting that awareness of it, because truly people just think this is just how life is. This is just how I am. People really, truly believe that. So if that is your belief, if that is what you think, that this is just how life goes,
Right.
you're not going to change anything, right? You don't even think you can. And so I think it's that awareness of it. It's so huge.
Yeah, I agree. And I find too that whatever triggered a chronic illness, there is a physical threat there. There's some threat there. And being in illness for a long time, the body goes into fight or flight subconsciously, whether you realize it or not. And once you're in fight or flight, it's going to be so hard to realize what your subconscious beliefs are, and to sit with yourself and do that introspection that's necessary to get that acceptance part that you're talking about. So that's where I feel like working with someone doing the brain rewiring and just having that relationship with someone who can help you restore gratitude and get back into a healing rest and digest state. The parasympathetic instead of the sympathetic, so that you can start to even have the mental safe space to explore your subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That resonates so much. Of course, in retrospect, a year and a half, this podcast episode would have been great. Thank you. Yeah, that resonates so much with my own experience where I think I was in this fight or flight mode that I couldn't see what I couldn't see because I was just like in survival mode. And it was depression is what it was. It was just like taking over me. It didn't allow me to really see beyond anything. So I think that's why things, what we put out there, the social media that we all don't love, and just putting out content and putting out resources and making people aware is so important every day because unless we pop up on somebody's feed, are they going to otherwise be aware of it? Because we all tend to just stick to our own circles of whatever it is that we have going on in our lives. And I was just chatting right before this with someone who I was like, so why did you book this call with me? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, great. That's a great starting point. But what it made me realize is exactly that is this is how we start to get people to see different, get people to understand that there are other options, that the way that this has been laid out, that roadmap, excuse me, that we were given, it is not the roadmap for everybody. Is it the roadmap for some people? Absolutely. Some people, that's how it's going to go for them and that's how they're going to be happy. But I think that for most of us, that's not true. And I think we need to start opening ourselves up to accepting that there are other options. And that starts with awareness, that starts with listening to the woo-woo friend and considering the woo-woo practitioner, the woo-woo doctor that your friend recommended, and the coach that's going to help you rewire your mind and get you to see things differently. So I think we're doing amazing is what I'm trying to say.
I love it.
That's a wrap for this episode.
We hope you found some inspiration, a helpful tip, or maybe just a good laugh.
Remember, amazing human, you are not alone on this path to connect with your inner wisdom and the universe.
To stay connected and keep the conversation going, subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast so you never miss an episode.
And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your friends, family, or anyone who might find value in it. Until next time.